Welcome into the Mogul House. You may know us from other stages, other spaces, our own music, wherever it may be. But I am Jared, and this is Darius. And we work hard in this space on developing, creating, amplifying not only our own voices, but the voices of other artists and creatives around us. Today, we're continuing our conversation that we began last time on community. And we talked about why we're all built, no matter your personality, no matter where you're from, we're all built for community, and it's a necessary part of life. And so, but we're going to continue that conversation today with Darius, just like how can we build community, and how have you done that?
Yeah. Well, I'm everything that I am today because of the village that raised me. Growing up, our family, we went to church. That was just our thing, let alone it was a black church. So, sometimes a little different. But in a black church, everything is so cohesive. Everyone does everything together. And in our church, the leadership, the pastors, all the ushers, the choir members, we all were family. So we did everything together. We ate together. We vacationed together. We prayed together. All the kids, we went to the same schools. We did homework together. Everything that we did was all together. And in that, the one thing that I noticed about my parents in that time as I grew and got older was they had three things in order for this to work and for it to impact them and for them to give off something to the community. They had vulnerability, they had trust, and they had love. And that was a big part of it. The vulnerability part is huge because in order to receive something from community and to get everything out of it, you have to let your walls down. And my parents really let their walls down. And in turn, we learned to do the same thing. Community is not always going to be perfect because it's people involved in it. There's going to be hurt, there's going to be pain, there's going to be something that's missaid, or there's going to be someone who does something wrong that may not jive with you. But at the same time, when you are vulnerable and you allow people in that space, and then you adapt that other thing, that trust thing. See, trust allows us to go beyond, well, the hurt that I experience, I'm going to pull back and isolate myself. But trust goes and it says, hey, although this hurt me or what you said may have affected me in a way that I didn't like, it may be for my good. See, those moments when we grow in community together and when there is friction and there's tension, we grow through it together and we become better. And that last thing is just love. We have to learn what it means to love one another. Love is huge. And love sometimes it's not always running through the fields with the flag and jumping around and smiling and singing songs, from any of your artists that you may love. No, love says the hard things, but in love we grow. And community is so important for us. I know for sure, especially for me, in my growth. One thing that I view about community that is so important, it's just in the way that we see ourselves and in the way that people see us. In the morning is the only time mostly where we see ourselves. We look in the mirror and we view ourselves from the outside perspective by what we see in our reflection. But the rest of the day, we don't get to see ourselves. We see the inner side of us. We're more attentive to that, our inner thoughts, what's happening, introspective wise. We're paying attention to that, but we don't see the outside, and we're so hard on ourselves. While everyone around us can see they can see us. They can see our activity. They can see our potential. They can see our giftings. They can see everything about us, and they pull out those things in us because of what they experience. And we can be so hard on ourselves because a lot of times what we do is we isolate ourselves without community. That isolation, that introspective part, which is not always a bad thing. That's where we learn like how good we are at something. That's where, like you were talking about in the other episode about how like in the times that you're recording at night or whatsoever like that, it's a big part of like when you get the best product or you're the most fruitful. But when you begin to open yourself up to other people, the beautiful thing that happens is people see that stuff and they bring it out more. And the things that you're not aware of. There have been things in our relationship as friends that I haven't been aware of, but you see it in me and you pull it out of me. And on my worst day, when I'm really in my head about something, you go, no, I see this and actually you're doing really well. And I do the same thing for you. That's the beautiful thing about community. When we let our walls down with vulnerability, we learn how to trust and we see everything in the introspective or the perspective of love.
Yeah. Man, I do feel like that trust aspect is probably the most important when it comes to community, because it's the benefit of the doubt of somebody speaking into your life and letting them shape you, letting them have that conversation. Because for me, it's hard to let somebody have that conversation with me at all. But if you're trusting that, giving them the benefit of the doubt that they no, they do have my good in mind. This is my community. It's not just somebody critiquing me, that I can really take that. I can really take that in and trust that, and therefore grow from that. Yeah. And you I hear that from you all the time. Things like I can work on that.
Yeah, we need those moments. If everything is all glitz and glam in our relationships with one another, when it comes to how we create or whatsoever, and no one pushes back on you at all, you don't grow. You have to grow from the moments where there is pushback. Again, because in your own head, you don't get to see the full picture, and you don't get to see the potential always. People get to see that because they get to see what you've worked so hard inner-wise. They get to see what you've done, and then they get to go, okay, I see this and more. And a lot of times we don't get to do that. Tension, heartache, heartbreak, all those things help us to become better people, because if you can make it through those moments with people, then outside of that comes greatness. And I want to be great. I don't want to be a person that's always in my head and limiting myself. When we add people into our lives, it takes the lid off of what we put on our own lives. I want to be great. You want to be great. So let's live in community.
Yeah, man. So we are going to hear an original song from you today under your artist name, Bishop. So let's hear that.
Looking in the mirror, cloudy eyes from all the liquor. I'm a lost town, nothing's around, and I'm about to freak out. It's like 55 on the freeway, 'cause I'm going at my own pace. Always at night, losing my mind. Tell myself I'm gonna be okay. It's like I'm a star in my own theme park with no lights, no lights. It's the ride of my life, I've got no plan, I'll be alright in no man's land. Yeah. Cruising out my head now, I'm okay till the sun's down. Chaos in the evening, I'm losing life, but my life moves on somehow. And yeah, I'm really feeling myself, and I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. If it hits me or it doesn't, I think I love it, just let me freak out. It's like I'm a star in my own theme park with no lights, no lights. Here's the ride of my life, I've got no plan, I'll be alright in no man's land. Yeah, be alright in Ooh, I think I love it, I feel the thrill of it, all day without a plan. Ooh, I think I love it, every second of it, all day in no man's land. Oh, I think I love it, every second of it, all day in no man's land. Oh, I think I love it, every second of it, all